All right, so let's talk about the installation for the Bestop TrekStep for a Toyota Tundra. So maybe you're like me, maybe you've lifted your truck up, I don't know, 2-3 inches, maybe 6, and it's a real struggle to get into your tailgate. So this step allows you to, it kicks down from underneath the tailgate and allows you to step onto it, which I'm sure if you're watching this video, you already know much about it. So I'm going to show you how I went to install this because it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy. There's a few parts in here. So this is just the step itself, and it has these sliding brackets that are in this rail for adjustment and how far you want it to stick out from underneath your tailgate. This is the actual mechanism that sits on. And then this is the plate that's going to go in where I'm going to show you where we're going to undo these bolts. And then there's some brackets here, different bolts if you need spacers, which I believe is what those brackets are for. I think those are actually spacers of some sort. And then I think this sort of acts like the other little ties that are underneath the bumper for support. So I'm just going to show you how to install those. So let's go under here. So these two right here, what we're going to take out. So I use this breaker bar here that extends, which gives you a good amount of leverage. The actual bolt size is, I believe it's 3/4 inch. So it's 3/4 inch bolt. It just takes some leverage to break it loose, and then it's just a matter of cranking it loose. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to crank it loose, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to bolt up that bracket up there. All right, so this was definitely more complicated than I thought it would be. These frame bolts were really rusted on. They have a welded on bolt back here. I don't know if you can see it right. Those two. So what I ended up doing is got some fluid film here, sprayed them. I had to alternate between using an impact wrench, you know, back and forth, back in the bolt out, going forward, all that. And with this bolt, I couldn't reach, the impact gun couldn't get up in here because of all the supports for the bumper. So I wound up having to use a few different wrenches here. Mainly this one that could ratchet, that made it go a lot quicker. So I'm going to install this guy now. This is the actual housing. So this bolts into right up in here. I decided to put a spacer on because I have a little bit of a lift on it and I'm short, so I decided to do that. And then the step will sit up here. So I'm going to go ahead and install this, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like. All right, got it all installed. I don't know if you can see the spacers up there. 2 spacers, took a little bit to get those all screwed in. I wound up having to go from the end of the truck and reach up from over here, up underneath here, basically I'll show you. Like I had to weave my hand up in there to get to where the bolts are, up on, or we can see that silver in the center here. Just to tighten those down, you can see the 2 spacers there. And then this is the end product. And you can stand on it perfectly. Works fine. Goes back up no problem. If you have a 2014 or newer, there's the bracket, which is here. And this would go, I believe, underneath, somewhere's up in here. I think on the top of the, where those screws were I was just talking about, screwing them in. Up there, and then you would anchor it to the bumper. Somehow it's in the instruction manual. I have a 2012 Tundra, so I didn't need to do that. So just look over your instructions. It does come with instructions, and it'll tell you how to put the little bracket on. But I didn't, so that's the install. You'll have a few pieces left over if you have a newer one. These are the shorter bolts if you don't put those spacers on. I put the spacers on, so I had to use the ones that are a little bit longer. They're probably that long. So these are just extras. All right, any questions, comments, leave them down below in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys all later.